Got some great shots of those aggressive-looking kennels, Deacon announced, reviewing his camera display. Karen's gonna. A soft sound behind them made Jason freeze. When he turned, his blood ran cold. 7 dogs had materialized seemingly from nowhere, moving in perfect synchronization. Unlike the stereotypical attack dogs they'd expected, these K9s made no sound, no growling, no barking, which somehow made them infinitely more terrifying. Each dog maintained precise formation, creating an inescapable perimeter around the intruders. "Holy shit," Trent whispered, his camera slipping from trembling fingers. The lead dog, a muscular Belgian Malinois with intelligent eyes and a titanium-looking tactical vest, positioned himself directly before them. Unlike the snarling guard dogs they'd imagined, this animal sat in perfect form, completely still but radiating coil power. His ears were forward, his eyes locked on them with unsettling human-like assessment. "Are they going to attack?" Deacon's voice cracked as he backed up, only to discover another dog had silently moved behind him, cutting off retreat. "Run for it." Jason suddenly bolted toward what appeared to be a gap in the formation. Before he'd taken 3 steps, a massive black German shepherd intercepted him with incredible speed, not attacking, but performing a perfect body block that sent Jason stumbling back toward his companions. The precision was unnerving. The dogs weren't behaving like animals. They were executing tactical containment maneuvers with military precision. When all 3 intruders huddled together in the center of the canine perimeter, a woman's authoritative voice came through speakers mounted on nearby poles. "Intruders contained. Remain stationary. Any attempt to flee will be interpreted as aggressive action." The 3 men froze as Maya emerged from the main building, her measured stride and ramrod straight posture revealing her military background. Despite her medium build, she projected absolute authority, her dark eyes assessing them with the same calculated intensity as the dogs. "On your knees, hands visible," she commanded, her smartphone visibly recording as she approached. With her free hand, she displayed credentials identifying her as a licensed security professional and K9 handler. The 3 immediately complied, dropping to their knees as the dogs maintained perfect position. "We have authorization." Jason desperately thrust forward the laminated card Karen had provided. "County-approved inspection." Maya barely glanced at the document before her expression hardened. "This is fraudulent. The county seal is outdated, the authorization number format is incorrect, and Commissioner Davis has been on medical leave for 3 months." The precision of her assessment shattered their remaining bravado. "It was Karen's idea," Trent blurted out, his self-preservation instinct overriding loyalty. "She's the HOA president. She paid us to get evidence of code violations so she could force the sale. She said it was completely legal," Deacon added desperately. "She created all the documents and promised us $500 each." Maya's phone captured every panicked confession as thunder rumbled ominously overhead. "The police are en route. The dogs will maintain containment until they arrive." Wednesday arrived with ominous storm clouds gathering, both literally over the county and figuratively over Alex's property. At precisely 1:47 p.m., Alex's customized truck with the Elite K9 training logo pulled away from the compound, heading for his meeting with the police chief about expanding regional K9 units. Karen, who had been monitoring from her SUV parked discreetly at the entrance of Pinecrest Estates, immediately activated her group text. "Target away. Green light. Remember, $500 bonus for usable evidence of health code violations." Jason adjusted his fake ranger uniform nervously as he and his friends, Trent and Deacon, approached the rarely used service entrance on the west side of Alex's property. The chain-link gate, partially obscured by landscaping, seemed their easiest access point. "Dude, are you sure this is legal?" Trent whispered, fingering the laminated inspection authorization hanging around his neck. "My dad will kill me if I get another arrest." "My aunt says it's completely legitimate," Jason replied, though his trembling hands betrayed his uncertainty as he positioned the bolt cutters. The HOA has jurisdiction to inspect neighboring properties affecting property values. The metal cutters sliced through the padlock with a decisive snap that seemed to echo across the property. What they couldn't know was that the seemingly ordinary lock contained a pressure sensor connected to Alex's state-of-the-art security system, a necessary precaution after a rival trainer had attempted to steal his prized Belgian Malinois last year. Within seconds, silent alerts pinged simultaneously on Alex's phone and the multiple monitors in his security office where Maya was reviewing training videos. Maya Rodriguez's military instincts kicked in immediately. At 34, the former Army K9 handler still maintained the hypervigilance that had kept her alive through 2 tours in Afghanistan. She quickly accessed the camera feeds, spotting 3 men in tan uniforms slipping through the service entrance. "Computer, activate Protocol Sentinel," she commanded, triggering the facility's defensive systems. Steel shutters silently descended over the main building's windows and doors, while the advanced facial recognition system searched for matches against authorized personnel. ALEOT, no identification match. Unknown subjects on premises. Classification, intruders. Inside the main house, Maya secured the 5 counter-terrorism dogs she'd been working with, locking them safely in the interior kennels. Unlike regular guard dogs, these elite K9s were worth over $60,000 each, representing thousands of training hours. As if to emphasize her point, the lead Malinois, whose tactical vest, they now noticed, identified him as Sergeant, adjusted his position slightly, his disciplined gaze never wavering. "These aren't pets," Maya explained with professional detachment. "These are elite law enforcement, K9s worth more than most luxury cars. Each one represents thousands of training hours and can detect explosives from half a mile away or track specific individuals through crowds. They're trained to contain suspects without causing injury. A single verbal command is all that separates you from a very different outcome." The crunch of tires on gravel announced a new arrival, and Alex's truck appeared, followed immediately by a police cruiser. The 3 intruders' faces drained of color when they recognized Chief Lawrence stepping out alongside Alex. "Well," the police chief said, surveying the scene with raised eyebrows, "when you said your security system was impressive, Morgan, I assumed you meant cameras." Alex's face was granite as he approached, his slight limp the only physical indication of his military past. His focus moved from the intruders to his dogs, pride momentarily replacing anger. "Perfect containment formation," he noted, the professional assessment momentarily overriding his fury. Not a single aggressive action, despite the threat. He turned to the police chief. "These individuals cut through a secured gate and entered private property with fraudulent documentation. According to my security feed, they've been photographing restricted training areas for the past 17 minutes. As the officers began processing the scene, Alex's phone buzzed with an incoming call. The caller ID displayed Karen Winters, HOA. The sudden silence as Alex held up his ringing phone was broken only by the continuous rumble of thunder. The 3 kneeling intruders exchanged panicked glances as Alex answered on speakerphone, his expression coldly professional. "This ought to be interesting," Chief Lawrence muttered, stepping closer to listen. "Mr. Morgan," Karen's voice sounded artificially sweet through the speaker, "I'm calling about those barking dogs again. The noise is simply—" "Ms. Winters," Alex interrupted calmly, "I have 3 young men here wearing counterfeit ranger uniforms who just broke onto my property. They claim you sent them, paid them, and provided falsified county documents to facilitate their trespassing. Would you care to comment?" The silence that followed was deafening. The only sound was the subtle click of Police Officer Ramirez activating her body camera to record the conversation. I have no idea what you're talking about," Karen finally sputtered, her composure cracking. "Who would make up such ridiculous—" "They're currently giving statements to Chief Lawrence," Alex continued, his voice remaining measured. "They've provided quite detailed information about your instructions, payment arrangements, and something called Operation K9 removal. They've also surrendered their phones, which apparently contain text messages from you coordinating today's trespassing. A clap of thunder punctuated his words as rain began to fall, the first heavy drops striking the training yard. "This is absurd. You can't possibly believe." Karen's voice had risen an octave, the artificial sweetness replaced by barely contained panic. "Officer Ramirez is currently organizing a warrant for your residence." Chief Lawrence cut in, leaning toward the speakerphone. "I suggest you remain there until we arrive. Attempting to destroy evidence will only compound the charges." The line went dead. "I think that went well," the police chief remarked dryly, turning to the three young men still kneeling in the rain, surrounded by the perfectly positioned K9s, who hadn't moved a muscle despite the downpour. "Now, which one of you would like to give a complete statement first? The sooner we document everything Ms. Winters orchestrated, the better position you'll be in." Jason raised his hand shakily. "I have all the text messages, the planning meetings, everything. And I know about the real estate developers she's been talking to behind the HOA's back." Officer Ramirez raised an eyebrow. "Real estate developers?" "This was never about a community park," Jason explained, water dripping from his fake uniform. "She has a deal with Westbrook Development. They want this land for luxury condos, and she gets a six-figure consultant fee for delivering it below market value." Alex and Chief Lawrence exchanged surprised looks as the scope of Karen's scheme began to unfold. The K9s maintained their perfect containment formation, seemingly indifferent to the intensifying rain, their training evident in every calm, controlled movement as they awaited their next command. The sharp whistle cut through the morning air as Alex Morgan watched Titan, his prized Belgian Malinois, execute a flawless takedown of a padded training assistant. At 42, with weathered hands and piercing blue eyes that missed nothing, Alex had transformed from military K9 handler to the most sought-after police dog trainer in 3 states. His 5-acre property at the edge of Pinnacrest Estates wasn't just a training facility. It was a legacy built from sweat and sacrifice after losing his left leg below the knee during his final deployment. "Perfect containment, no excessive force," Alex called out, tossing Titan his reward as the dog immediately released on command. "That's why the Westlake PD is paying premium for you, boy." The sprawling compound, with its specialized underground tunnel systems, urban simulation course, and custom-built kennels for his 12 elite dogs, had become legendary in law enforcement circles. Departments fought to get on his 6-month waiting list, willing to pay top dollar for K9s that could track missing children through impossible terrain or detect narcotics that other dogs missed completely. When he'd purchased this land 5 years ago, the real estate agent had nervously mentioned the adjacent HOA, but assured him his property remained outside their jurisdiction. Alex had still taken precautions, installing professional soundproofing in the kennels, maintaining immaculate grounds, and constructing an aesthetically pleasing 6-foot privacy fence as a buffer. What Alex couldn't have anticipated was Karen Winters, a former luxury real estate agent whose failed career had channeled into a tyrannical reign as the newly elected HOA president. From her deck, she glared through binoculars at Alex's property, envisioning tennis courts and a community splash pad where his filthy dog prison currently stood. The folder beside her bulged with fabricated complaints and the increasingly threatening letters she'd been sending him for 3 months. "This time he's gone too far," she muttered, snapping photos of Alex's new equipment delivery with her telephoto lens. "Those mutts barked for 30 seconds after the UPS truck arrived. That's a clear noise violation." Alex, meanwhile, was focused entirely on preparing 5 specialized detection dogs for the FBI's counter-terrorism unit, a career-defining contract. The pink notices piling up in his mailbox barely registered as he worked 18-hour days, unaware that Karen had just called an emergency HOA meeting to implement what she was calling the final solution to the dog problem. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the training ground as Alex worked with HOA, a Dutch shepherd with exceptional tracking abilities. The dog moved methodically through the mock urban environment, nostrils flaring as he sorted through the complex tapestry of scents, searching for the specific chemical signature they'd hidden. "He's getting close," Maya Rodriguez observed, her clipboard tracking response times and detection accuracy. Her military precision complemented Alex's intuitive training style. One reason their partnership had elevated elite K9 training above every competitor in the region. Alex nodded, watching Hawkeye's body language shift subtly as he approached the target area. 5 more seconds, and he'll have it. Right on cue, Hawkeye's ears perked forward, and his body froze in the telltale alert position, signaling he'd found the trace amounts of explosive material hidden in an abandoned vehicle. He didn't bark or scratch, just locked into a perfectly still indication pose, exactly as trained. As for Jason, the experience proved life-changing. Under Alex's cautious mentorship, the young man discovered an aptitude for working with shelter dogs deemed unadoptable due to behavioral issues. His community service hours evolved into a part-time position, then a full-time career path. The day those dogs surrounded us changed everything, Jason told a local reporter during a feature about his rehabilitation work with rescue animals. I thought I was facing monsters. Instead, I found the most disciplined, professional creatures I'd ever seen. They could have hurt us, but they chose not to. That's when I realized most dangerous dogs aren't born that way. They just never had the right training or understanding. Even Karen's story took an unexpected turn. During her incarceration, she was assigned to a prison program where inmates trained service dogs for disabled veterans. Initial reports described her as the program's most resistant participant, until being paired with a washout Labrador mix, deemed too sensitive for service work. The dog, overlooked and underestimated, responded to Karen's reluctant training with remarkable progress. By the time of her release, something fundamental had shifted. She moved to a different state, legally changed her name, and found work at a rural animal shelter, keeping her head down and her opinions to herself. Back at elite K9 training, Alex expanded his facility to include a non-profit wing dedicated to matching trained service dogs with children and veterans who couldn't afford them. The waiting list stretched to 18 months, but the transformative impact of these partnerships made headlines nationwide. During one particularly successful demonstration day, Jim Watkins, the retired police sergeant who had defended Alex during Karen's smear campaign, watched his granddaughter play with one of the facility's trainee puppies. "You know," he told Alex, "sometimes the worst situations bring out the best outcomes. Without Karen's scheme, you might have remained the mysterious dog guy at the edge of the neighborhood forever." Alex smiled, watching Maya lead a group of fascinated school children through a demonstration of scent detection work. "I'm reminded daily that good training isn't just for dogs, it's for communities too. Understanding replaces fear, and respect grows from knowledge." He glanced at the fence line that once represented division but now served as a meeting point between two thriving communities. "Besides," he added with a grin, "I think everyone learned a valuable lesson about underestimating professionals, whether they have 2 legs or 4. 4.7 seconds faster than yesterday," Maya noted, impressed. "The FBI team is going to be blown away." "They'd better be, for what they're paying," Alex replied, rewarding Hawkeye with his favorite tub toy. "This contract could fund the new medical detection program I've been wanting to launch." As they walked back toward the main building, Alex noticed movement at the fence line, a flash of beige clothing disappearing behind a tree. It wasn't the first time he'd spotted surveillance from the Pinecrest estate side. "They're watching again," he mentioned casually to Maya. "Third time this week." Maya frowned, her military instincts kicking in. "Maybe we should review the security footage. Something feels off about this." "Let them look," Alex shrugged, checking his prosthetic leg as they walked. "We're not doing anything wrong, and everything is properly permitted. Whatever grievance this HOA thinks they have, they'll eventually give up when they realize we're outside their jurisdiction." What Alex didn't know was that earlier that day, Karen had shown the Pinecrest Estates board doctored photographs allegedly showing unsafe conditions at Elite K9. What she presented as dangerous, aggressive animals were actually staged training scenarios with professional handlers. The unsanitary conditions were actually from a construction site 3 miles away. But the manipulated evidence, combined with Karen's theatrical presentation about property values plummeting, had convinced the board to allocate funds for what she called a professional property assessment. As darkness fell over the training compound, Alex finalized the next day's training schedule, completely unaware that less than half a mile away, Karen was briefing her nephew Jason on what would be his most lucrative and ultimately disastrous job yet. "Keep an eye on it," Alex replied, distracted by tomorrow's certification test for the FBI dogs. "If they actually trespass, then we'll worry." That night, as Alex reviewed training footage, Karen held a final briefing with her fake rangers in her immaculate kitchen. "Tomorrow's the day," she announced, unfolding a map of Alex's property with entry points circled in red. "He'll be at the county office meeting with the police chief from 2 to 4 p.m. That gives you 2 hours to get everything we need." Outside the kitchen window, thunder rumbled as storm clouds gathered. Karen used her perfectly manicured finger to circle a particular spot on the map. "The service entrance here is your best access point. The regular security cameras don't have full coverage of this area because of the tree line." She'd been meticulously studying Alex's property for weeks, watching delivery trucks and service vehicles to identify potential blind spots. Deacon, the tallest of the 3 fake rangers, fidgeted with his new uniform collar. "What if there are dogs loose on the property?" Karen rolled her eyes dramatically. "There won't be. He keeps them kenneled when he's not actively training them. That's what those buildings here are for." She pointed at blurry zoomed-in photos she'd taken from her deck. "Besides, they're just oversized pets with fancy training. Make a loud noise, and they'll run away." Her complete misunderstanding of professional K9s would prove catastrophic. Jason examined the bolt cutters she'd purchased that morning. "And you're sure this is legal? Because I'm still on probation from that." "Of course it's legal," Karen snapped, her patience wearing thin. "I've shown you the authorization documents. The county has granted the HOA temporary inspection rights due to the numerous complaints. We're conducting an official environmental and safety assessment." She slid an envelope across the table containing half of their promised payment. $250 each now, another $500 each when you bring me usable documentation. Focus on the kennels. Get photos that make them look dirty or overcrowded. And if you can get the dogs looking aggressive, even better. As they examined their payment, Karen smiled tightly, already mentally spending the sizable commission she'd get from selling Alex's land to developers once her scheme forced him out. The community splash pad and tennis courts were just the public-facing pitch. The real plan involved luxury condos that would generate a hefty referral fee for the consultant who brought in the development deal. "One last thing," Karen added, her voice hardening. "If anyone questions you, show them your credentials and say you're conducting an official county-authorized inspection. Don't mention me or the HOA directly. As far as you're concerned, you work for the Pennycrest Environmental Authority. Understood?" The 3 nodded, none of them realizing they were about to trespass onto the property of one of the most sophisticated K9 training operations in the country, or that the dogs they dismissed as oversized pets were actually elite tactical animals with military-grade training. "Ms. Winters," Alex answered, activating speakerphone as the police chief leaned in to listen. "I believe 3 of your employees have trespassed onto my property." "I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about." Karen's voice dripped with rehearsed innocence. "But while I have you, we've received multiple complaints about noise from your facility today, and as HOA president." Chief Lawrence interrupted. "Ms. Winters, this is Police Chief Lawrence. I'm standing with Mr. Morgan and 3 young men in counterfeit ranger uniforms who have provided sworn statements identifying you as the orchestrator of this illegal entry. Officers are en route to your residence with a warrant. I strongly suggest you remain there." The line went dead. What followed made headlines across the state. Body camera footage showed Karen attempting to delete evidence from her computer when officers arrived. Her home yielded a trove of incriminating materials: falsified county documents, photoshopped credentials, and a detailed Operation K9 removal plan outlining her scheme to force Alex off his property. The investigation expanded beyond the trespassing incident. Financial audits revealed Karen had embezzled over $37,000 from HOA funds, diverting money earmarked for community improvements into her personal accounts, and the fake Granger operation. Further, she'd been running similar intimidation campaigns against 3 other homeowners who had opposed her initiatives. At the emergency HOA meeting, shell-shocked residents voted unanimously to remove Karen from the board and issue a formal apology to Alex. Darla Chen, the property attorney who had questioned Karen's authority, was elected interim president. "On behalf of our community, we are deeply ashamed," Darla told Alex when she visited his facility with an official letter of apology. "We hope you can forgive your neighbors, most of whom had no idea what Karen was doing." In the aftermath, the 3 young rangers faced serious charges. However, after reviewing their tearful confessions and acknowledging Karen's manipulation, Alex made an unexpected decision. Rather than pushing for maximum prosecution, he offered an alternative. They could complete 500 community service hours at his facility, learning the true purpose and value of professional K9 training. "You wanted to see what happens here," he told them during their court hearing. "Then really see it. Understand what these dogs actually do and who they help." Jason and Deacon accepted the offer. Trent, fearing the dogs, opted for traditional community service elsewhere. The judge, impressed by Alex's compassion, approved the arrangement while still requiring each to pay restitution for property damage. Karen's legal consequences were severe: 18 months in prison for conspiracy, fraud, embezzlement, falsifying government documents, and filing false reports. The court ordered complete restitution to the HOA and affected homeowners, plus substantial damages to Alex. Her real estate license was permanently revoked, and the terms of her eventual probation prohibited her from serving on any community board for life. The incident transformed Alex's relationship with Pinecrest Estates in unexpected ways. Local media coverage of the HOA Gone Wild story highlighted the remarkable discipline of his K9s, who had contained intruders without causing injury, a testament to their exceptional training. "These aren't attack dogs," Alex explained during a television interview that went viral. "They're intelligence service animals trained to protect the vulnerable, find the lost, and make communities safer. Any dog with the right temperament and proper training can learn incredible skills. I've heard he's training attack dogs for private military contractors." Karen's voice dropped to a theatrical whisper as the book club ladies leaned in. "Beth's cousin works at the county and says those aren't even American agencies visiting his compound." The disinformation campaign spread through Pinecrest Estates like wildfire. Within weeks, concerned parents were keeping children away from the property line, and anonymous complaints flooded local officials. Not everyone bought Karen's increasingly outlandish claims. Jim Watkins, a retired police sergeant, loudly defended Alex at the community barbecue. "That man trained my daughter's service dog for free when no insurance would cover it," Jim announced, silencing Karen's circle. "That dog detected her seizures before they happened and saved her life twice. You should be thanking him instead of this witch hunt." Karen's face flushed crimson. She'd been publicly challenged, and in her world, that demanded escalation. The emergency HOA meeting was packed. Residents found themselves in the stuffy community center as Karen unveiled architectural renderings of Pinecrest Paradise, tennis courts, a splash pad, and cafe that suspiciously covered the exact dimensions of Alex's property. "This beautification initiative will increase all our property values by 30%, she announced triumphantly. Darla Chen, a property attorney 3 houses down from Karen, raised her hand. "That land isn't within HOA jurisdiction. You have zero authority there." Karen's smile never faltered as she produced an official-looking document. "Actually, I've been working with County Commissioner Davis. He's granted us temporary inspection rights due to multiple health and safety complaints. Once we document the violations, we can petition for eminent domain." The document, featuring a clumsily photoshopped county seal, convinced most residents. Only Darla noticed it lacked proper legal formatting, but Karen quickly moved to the next agenda item before questions could arise. The following morning, Karen's nephew Jason and his 2 community college dropouts friends admired their new uniforms in her living room. Can shirts with forest green pants and patches proclaiming them Pinecrest environmental ranges. Remember, Karen instructed while handing them professional-grade cameras, I need documentation of unsanitary conditions, improper waste disposal, anything showing those animals are dangerous. The bonus is $500 each if you get photos I can use in court. Jason, already on probation for petty theft, hesitated. Isn't this trespassing? Karen slid a laminated card featuring more forged county credentials across the table. Absolutely not. These are official inspection authorizations. Completely legal. Meanwhile, Alex worked with a team of FBI handlers in his underground scent detection facility, completely unaware of the surveillance taking place. His security system had flagged unusual activity. 3 young men in uniform had circled his property twice in the past week. He'd made a mental note to check if the county had assigned new rangers to the adjacent nature preserve. But the 16-hour training days left little time for investigation. In his security office, multiple camera feeds showed the rangers photographing his property from various angles. One of them appeared to be measuring the distance between his fence and the HOA properties. Maya Rodriguez, Alex's assistant trainer and former Army K9 handler, watched the footage with growing suspicion. Something's not right with those guys, she told Alex during their brief lunch break. Real rangers don't case a property like that. The publicity led to a surge in contracts from police departments nationwide, impressed by the dog's restraint and precision. The FBI Counter-Terrorism Unit, after witnessing the incident's security footage, doubled their original order. 6 months later, Alex hosted Pinecrest Estate's first annual Community K9 Day, transforming his once mysterious compound into an educational showcase. Hundreds of residents watched demonstrations of search and rescue operations, narcotics detection, and service dog assistance for disabled individuals. The highlight came when Jason and Deacon, now completing their final month of community service, led a demonstration with Sergeant, the Malinois who had contained them months earlier. Their genuine enthusiasm and newfound respect for the animals moved many to tears, particularly when Jason revealed how the experience had inspired him to enroll in veterinary technician courses. The fence line, once symbolizing division, became a point of connection. Alex constructed a proper gate with a paved path connecting to the community, offering monthly educational tours and discounted basic obedience training for residents' pets. Several neighbors volunteered as weekend puppy socializers for his youngest trainees. Where Karen's spite had intended to destroy, something remarkable grew instead. Alex's facility received county recognition for excellence in professional training and community education. A specially designed K9 obstacle course, funded by the HOA as a goodwill gesture, became a popular attraction where neighborhood children could watch training demonstrations. And on the new main entrance gate, beneath the Elite K9 training sign, hung a smaller plaque that made visitors smile. Protected by highly trained professionals who work for treats and justice, trespassers will be thoroughly educated. 1 year to the day after the trespassing incident, as Alex watched his newest class of service dogs training alongside the handlers, including a dog being prepared for a child with epilepsy in Pinecrest Estates, he reflected on how Karen's scheme had backfired so spectacularly. What was meant to drive him away had instead rooted him more deeply, turning adversaries into allies and suspicion into understanding. Maya joined him at the fence line, where they could see families gathering in the adjacent community park, the real one, properly funded and built in the appropriate location. Not exactly how I expected to meet the neighbors, Alex mused, watching Sergeant demonstrate a perfect article search for an admiring crowd. Some people need to learn the hard way, Maya replied with a knowing smile, that good fences make good neighbors, but trained dogs make better ones. The transformation didn't stop with Pinecrest Estates. The story of Alex's facility and its remarkable dogs spread across social media, challenging common misconceptions about working K9s. Law enforcement agencies nationwide began incorporating his containment-first training methods, reducing incidents of unnecessary force. Meanwhile, the intruders moved deeper into the property, documenting everything with professional cameras, Karen had rented specifically for this operation. Jackpot, Deacon whispered, photographing the obstacle course with its realistic training dummies. This looks like military-grade equipment. Karen will flip when she sees this. Jason directed them toward the outdoor kennels, where 7 dogs watched with unnerving intensity, their disciplined silence more unsettling than barking would have been. Get close-ups of any waste or poor conditions, Jason instructed, completely misunderstanding the immaculate facility, and see if you can get the dogs looking aggressive. In the security office, Maya's finger hovered over the facility's emergency response options. She could call police, but response time would be at least 11 minutes. Alex was 20 minutes away at minimum. Instead, she made a decision that would change everything. Computer, execute Containment Protocol Delta. Her voice was steady as she activated the microphone to the outdoor speaker system. Release security team, non-aggressive containment only. Throughout the compound, automated systems whirred to life. The outdoor kennel doors silently slid open, releasing 7 of the most highly trained K9s in the country, not to attack, but to perform exactly what they'd been training for thousands of hours to do: contain and control without injury. Maya's calm voice echoed through the outdoor speakers with commands that the dogs immediately responded to. Sentinel team, find, contain, hold. As the 3 fake rangers approached the equipment shed, none of them noticed the systematic movement of shadows converging from multiple directions, each shadow moving with purposeful precision rather than predatory aggression. The distant rumble of thunder masked the sound of paws moving strategically through the training compound. While the intruders focused on photographing what they believed would be damning evidence, Sergeant, the lead Malinois, was already coordinating a textbook containment formation with the precision of a military tactician. Check out these weird harnesses, Trent called, photographing specialized equipment hanging in the shed. Looks like something from a horror movie. Karen can definitely use this. Jason was meticulously documenting the kennels, pristine enclosures with climate control, custom bedding, and state-of-the-art monitoring systems that he completely misinterpreted as excessive and unsafe confinement structures. He'd already collected over 50 photos, mentally calculating his $500 bonus. I'm heading over to the main building, Deacon announced, breaking away from the group. That's probably where they keep the really good stuff. Maya watched the intruder's movement on her monitors, speaking calmly into her headset. Atlas, intercept subject moving toward the main facility. Standard containment protocol. A massive black German shepherd, detached from the gathering formation, moving like a liquid shadow to cut off Deacon's path without being detected. In the security office, Maya activated her body camera and notified local law enforcement through a special channel established for the high-security facility. Then she contacted Alex. We have 3 unauthorized intruders on the property.